Tellenbosch scientist, distinguished Professor Leon Dick says it's important to maintain a strong, healthy immune system in the absence of the COVID-19 vaccine. His advice comes as COVID-19 cases in the country have passed the 300,000 infection mark. Professor Dix is now talking to us this morning. Prof, good morning, and thank you very much for your time. I mean, you hear a lot of theories about how to boost one's immune system, from taking certain supplements to exercising to eat healthy. What would your advice be?
Well, the important thing to remember is we need to eat well. That is something we don't do these days.
What does it mean to eat well?
You need to eat, you need to have a balanced diet. That's the one thing. But that doesn't help anymore. You need to supplement your diet with probiotics. And the one thing that we need to remember is that most of our immune system actually comes from the gut, from your gut, you know, so the epithelial cells and so on in your gut, from the gut wall. So the gut wall needs to talk to you, to your body. And the only way it can do that is if you have probiotics attaching to the gut wall. So what we developed is, we developed a probiotic, very specific probiotic called Entiro, with two very specific strains. And those strains attach to the gut wall. And as they attach to the gut wall, they send out a signal, a very clear signal to the body and to the immune system to boost the immune system. And apart from that, it also protects you from all sorts of infections.
Okay, now just hold on there. Probiotics, Entiro is a name you've just mentioned. I mean, probiotics, yes. There's a lot of them on the market currently. But just to talk in general, also, some people say you must eat yogurt, but you might need a lot of plain yogurt if you can afford to buy one. But we live in a country where the levels of poverty and inequality are so high, and we have up of 12 million South Africans who go to bed hungry every day.
That's true. That's true. In other words, you've just said it. There are so many people with a bad immune system. Actually, that is exactly what it comes down to. People can't afford stuff like, you know, real expensive food. So they don't get the meals they need to do on a daily basis. However, there are probiotics on the market, as you've said, many different probiotics. The real thing is you need to get the good probiotic, the probiotic that will really make a difference. And we have spent about 15 years on the developing of this specific probiotic and published more than 60 scientific papers on an international basis on this. And it proved to be really an excellent product.
Okay.
And it really boosts your immune system.
So, Prof, I'm just thinking here, I mean, maybe, of course, this is not my field of expertise at all, but yes, you can buy probiotics at chemists if you can afford to. You say you guys have developed this entire one, which is what, or you can have a balanced diet, but we know that many South Africans cannot even afford a meal. But probiotics sources, what are there naturally occurring sources of probiotics for somebody who might be listening and say, okay, I can't afford to buy these things. What should I be eating?
That's a tough question. We tend to eat overcooked foods, first of all. The best thing you can do is to try and stay as natural as possible. Try and eat more fermented foods. You mentioned yogurt. The problem with many of these foods is you do not get enough probiotics in those products.
So you would need to eat huge quantities of this fermented food, like sauerkraut and stuff like that. But you would need to eat huge amounts of them, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the problem. But for instance, if I mean, you need to take in probiotics at a level. Now, remember, probiotics, first of all, need to be viable, in other words, living cells, living bacteria. You need to take in at least 100 million of these cells on a daily basis. And that's the other important thing. You need to take it on a daily basis. There's no way you can, let's call it, eat 100 million viable bacteria on a day.
Hence you suggesting your advice is if you can afford it, buy yourselves the right kind of probiotics like Ontario. Very briefly, Prof, as we conclude, what food should you avoid to take that may affect your gut adversely?
Oh, the first thing you need to avoid is obviously overcooked meals. You need to avoid, I strongly believe you need to avoid strong spices, for instance. You need to avoid foods that have been preserved with all sorts of preservatives, which are obviously not good. You need to avoid food high in sugar content. These are all basic stuff. Avoid food with high salt content. All of these things, high sugar, high salts, high preservative content, they all affect your gut microbes, which you don't want to do. You don't want to kill your gut microbes. They need to stay healthy. Yet, we are killing them by just eating the wrong stuff.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor, for your advice this morning. And still ahead, we'll be looking at organ donations and transplant procedures during the COVID-19 pandemic.